Hi all, let's have a look at game 6 of the World Chess Championship. Magnus Carlsen playing white, Fabiano with the black pieces, so e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, so the Petrov's defense, and Magnus takes on e5, we have d6, and now knight d3. This looks quite interesting. The usual knight f3 has been seen in a previous game. For example, knight takes e4, knight c3, and then with an opposite side casting game, which is also quite interesting. So knight d3, does this take Fabiano by surprise? It's quite a rare continuation. Knight takes e4, queen e2, queen e7, knight f4, and so far this has been seen before in a game in 2018. Motliev 2659 playing white against Rachmanov 2627, so that was in Yaroslav. So very high level players. But here is a new move not seen before. In that game there was knight f6, so it ended up as a draw on move 43 with this continuation, and it was eventually a draw. So in this game we get a new move basically, so we're really out of territory after knight c6, out of previous stem games now. Knight d5, and now knight d4, just counter-attacking white's queen. We have knight takes e7, knight takes e2, knight d5 hitting c7, and black returns the favour by hitting c2. So quite an interesting situation. Knight a3 defending c2, and black defends c7 now with knight e6. This knight's kicked. This knight goes to c5, d4, trying to lure the knight away from c7. That knight cannot take there. Knight d7. Well, it also, of course, opens up the bishop and is a logical developing move in any case. So knight d7, c3, c6, knight f4. So we have the dreaded symmetrical pawn structure here, which many World Chess Championships do tend to have games with totally symmetrical pawn structure. So is there anything interesting going on? Let's see. Knight b6, bishop d3, d5, knight c2, getting out of the way of bishop takes a3, fracturing the pawns, centralizing the knights. Bishop d6, exchange of knights, king f2, h5, h4, fixing down that pawn, knight c8, knight e3, knight e7, g3. This is a nice idea now coming up, to be able to play knight g2 and bishop f4 to try and exchange off the dark squared bishop. c5, but black does have pressure now on d4. Bishop c2, black castles, rook d1. And the thing is about the d4 pawn here, you'll note it's on the same diagonal as the king. So white actually has, in a way, a more significant weakness in a theoretical sense, it seems, than black, because of the king's position. Let's see, rook fd8, knight g2, but white gets on with this plan of exchanging off, trying to exchange off the dark square bishops. So rook ac8, bishop b3, knight c6, bishop f4, now knight a5. We have rook dc1, accepting the possibility of doubled pawns. Black plays bishop b4. Doubling the pawns doesn't really achieve too much. For example, this seems quite peaceful. So we have bishop b4, bishop d1 getting out of the way of that knight, knight c4, b3, knight a3, an exchange of rooks, rook c1, knight b5, and you see that this is becoming a problem, this pawn, and this diagonal. This pawn is slightly vulnerable. An exchange of the last pair of rooks, knight e3, knight c3, not only hitting a2 but putting pressure on the bishop, protecting d5. On knight takes d4, knight takes d5, this position seems about equal. So knight c3, we have bishop c2, bishop a3, bishop b8, that pawn's moved, f4, bishop d7, f5, bishop c6. Now, yeah, freeing up the knight to move by protecting d5, bishop d1, hitting h5. But look at this, bishop b2, so a trade of this one for a centre pawn seems a bit risky, especially this diagonal, again, seems vulnerable. If black had played knight takes d1 check, this position might be a small edge for black, but maybe not so significant. So bishop b2, we have bishop takes h5, knight e4 check, and yeah, this is starting to be quite dangerous now after bishop takes d4. So both bishops are kind of pointing at the white king. So it's not just about taking the pawn, it's also a centre pawn ready to roll. So this is actually quite a difficult position. Magnus plays bishop f4. If knight c2, then bishop c3, and moving this pawn gives black a certain advantage. Black is looking a lot better here. Yeah, this looks very, very dangerous indeed. So bishop f4, we have bishop c5, ready to roll the d pawn. So it's this bishop staring at the king now. Black hasn't got such problems with the king on g8 here, quite well shielded. Bishop f3, and this is a very resourceful way of playing the position. Knight d2, with basically the offer of a piece sacrifice after bishop takes d5 to try and resolve the issues. If bishop e2, then d4 check. Yeah, just taking a piece for nothing. So bishop takes d5. White is trying to grab as many pawns as possible for the piece. So bishop takes e3. If white takes it, then that's check. So piece up. So white has to grab as many pawns as possible for the piece after takes on c6 and then taking on b7. So bishop d6. So yeah, for the first time in the World Championship match, one side is actually literally a piece down, albeit for 2 pawns at the moment, 3 pawns now. So knight e4, we have g4, protecting that pawn, bishop a3, bishop c4, king f8, g5, knight c3, b4. Yeah, Magnus is giving up his queenside pawns. They're going to be taken anyway. Well, a2 is going to be taken anyway, and the knight coming back to b4 if b4. So that is given voluntarily, and soon, okay, the king tries to get to an aggressive position now on the king side with a kind of fortress, trying to hold on to a fortress. Giving up this pawn now is in some respects, yeah, simplifying the situation. If bishop b1, for example, then this continuation, if the pawns ever get locked up like that, this pawn could be more of a problem. If black gets this position, it's just winning basically. So the king has to be, the white king has to try and get into an aggressive position, otherwise this kind of thing is absolutely winning. So this pawn is just thrown overboard, given to black, and now the idea is to get a really aggressive king, g takes, and then king g6, trying to have some sort of fortress. We have bishop d8, king h7, knight f7, bishop c4, knight e5, bishop d5, bishop a5. We get to a very interesting critical position very shortly here. After knight f3, bishop d5, knight d4, king g6, bishop g5, bishop c4. If the bishop had gone to e4 here, then knight e2, and this is good for black. Yeah, black ends up picking off the pawns basically. So this is good for black. If bishop takes g6, by the way, there, and h8, there's f5 check. So here, let me just put that on the board, actually. So if bishop takes g6, king takes, queening, there's f5 check, and then bishop takes. So yeah, let's go carry on with this line. So basically in this line, black's just taking all the pawns, so that's on bishop e4. So the bishop should really try and stick around on this diagonal, and we have bishop c4. Now here, yeah, at move 68, Fabiano probably gave up hope of winning this game and played knight f3. It turns out there's actually a technical win available, but it's a really, really subtle move. It requires like powerful computer analysis. And the players by this time, as well as the spectators, are getting absolutely exhausted. So in a practical perspective, this is an exceptionally hard continuation for a human to find. A tiring human at this point in the game, at move 68. But it turns out, yeah, instead of knight to f3 as played, there's a powerful kind of waiting move, bishop h4 here. And you can see the analysis of variations in the pinned comment as well if you want to follow it through. But let's say bishop d5, keeping on the diagonal. Then knight e2, and there's a very interesting idea of getting the knight kind of self-trapped with knight g1. So inviting bishop g4. Let's have a look though first at putting the bishop on that diagonal, not going with bishop g4, which would kind of trap this knight. So bishop d5, say, how does black actually win this position with the knight on g1? Bishop g5, king h7, the knight comes back to e2, knight g3, and this really fixes down the bishop. It ties the bishop down to the 2 pawns now for a moment. Now king f7, king h8. Yeah, if the bishop moves to d1, then knight takes f5, and this is winning for black. So let's have king h8 as a test, bishop c1, and the bishop actually comes round, it weaves its way round here. After h6, that's taken, yeah, because otherwise, yeah, this is getting to be pretty tricky. If king h7, for example, then knight e4, it's actually a mate in 4 from here. After h6, check, taking, and then it's mating with this. So let's imagine h6, that's that pawn being taken, and this ends up basically winning for black. Black's taking out that f5 pawn. But let's go to the continuation earlier. Let's have a look at this again, and let's go with this continuation where the bishop traps the knight. So bishop g4. So you can see that the bishop is dominating the knight. However, this is fine because now king g8 after h6, bishop g5, check, king h8, king h5, and here the pawn is taken, and that's just winning. And if bishop d1, for example, knight h3, then there's going to be a knight f4 check, and again the pawn is taken, and that's a big advantage for black. So there's a very, very problem-like move here, basically, at move 68, bishop h4. But from a practical perspective, everyone's exhausted watching the game, and the players must be absolutely shattered by this point. And in the post-mortem interview, Fabiano said he, basically gave up hopes of trying to win this game. So where there's a will, there's a way. I think he gave up the will for finding such a move. It's like a problem like composition move. To have to find this in over the board game is a big ask at move 68. So yeah, it's just more for theoretical interest. So knight f3 was played. There is a headline on Reddit, oh, mate in 68 was missed or something ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, so knight f3 was played. king h7, and this stops the black king going to g8. So we have knight e5, bishop drops back to b3, knight g4, bishop c4, knight e3, bishop d3, knight g4, bishop c4, knight h6, king g6, king e7, and the king comes up. It seems as though some progress is kind of made, but it's not really here. It's not enough, this progress, because of the h6, black has to do something about h7 now that the king's come over here. That's one snag, is h6 is more effective. So the bishop gives itself up, and now we have basically the game ended here. It's a theoretical drawn position after king takes, knight takes f5 check. The extra pawn doesn't mean anything. The bishop can really just sacrifice itself to leave black with just the knight, of course. So it's a totally even position here. So yeah, an interesting problem-like win contained in this game, and a very innovative knight maneuver to d3. I personally prefer the opposite side casting variation, though. I think that's my favourite still against the Petrov's defence. So yeah, that was game 6. Quite a grueling game indeed. Hope you got something from the analysis. If you enjoyed it, please click on the top left box to become a member at chessworld.net. You can play against other YouTubers. You can check out this analysis and any updates from the improved menu. Learn from the Master's YouTube order. Okay, comments, questions, donations, see the description. Likes, shares, subscribes with the notification bell, all really appreciated and welcome. Thanks very much.